What's going on? Brian Bandas here. Thank you for joining me on the Brian Bandas Builds a Business YouTube channel. Got my lunch smoothie here. Pretty good, pretty healthy. We're coming up on summer, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to get svelte. We're going to the beach in like 2 weeks. I want to look sexy. Can't help it, guys, okay? I want my wife to have a crush on me, that's all. Is that so much to ask? Hey, listen, this week's video is about how to make the transition from I got a cool side hustle that I love to I want to do it full time. How do you make that transition? I'm going to talk to you about how I did it with my real estate development company. And I think there's a couple principles that we can pull from my experience that might apply to your experience and give you the blueprint to do that yourself. So listen, first, if you're feeling the vibe, if you're building a business, you like real estate development, real estate investing, or you're an entrepreneur and you're just trying to build a business like I am from the ground up, from zero, baby, from zero. If you're trying to do that and you're getting something out of walking through this journey with me, then hook me up. One of those, and one of those, and one of those. Let's get to it. My name is Brian Bandas. I'm building a real estate development company. I'm becoming a better father, a better husband, a better entrepreneur, and a better man every single day. Let's get it. So this house behind me is a good example of a slam dunk, right? I'm not building it. It's really simple. It's a single home. It's in residential zoning. It's a no-brainer. There's no problems. There's no extra timeline. For me, the transition into doing this full time was stacking up my pipeline with as many of these types of projects as possible. This pays my bills and gives me that little extra I need to take on slightly higher risk projects, right? Something like this mixed use I'm doing. These types of deals that are a little more up the middle kind of pay my bills, right? That helps me feed my family while I try to expand and grow by either taking on bigger projects or types of projects that I haven't done before. So one of the things that we're talking about as far as making this transition is filling your pipeline. And what you need to do is identify what are the types of projects that are going to give you the surest income with the least time invested. So because I am not the builder on this, I'm not the GC, the time that I spend on this project is minimal. We're talking my total time on the whole thing, maybe on the high end 20 hours. That includes all of my upfront due diligence, signing papers, phone calls, everything. So let's call it 20 hours to make on this particular deal, probably 6 figures. So if I do 2 of those, now I have replaced the income I had before and then some, and given myself a lot of extra time and margin to go out and put together more deals and expand what I'm doing, build relationships, a lot of these things that take time and effort that don't make me money up front. That's the challenge of building a business, right? How do I do all these things that don't pay me and still survive? The answer is identify the work that pays you the most for the least amount of time, stack that up, buy yourself margin so you can go do those things that you sort of have to do for free for the first while, right? So this is one example of a home that, you know, made me good money, required very minimal time. To some degree, I could, depending on what I wanted to grow into, I could just stack up, 5 to 10 of these a year and it would be pretty rocking little system. The issue is that there's a limited number of them and I want to do long-term, I want to build something that is bigger and kind of goes beyond that. So I stack up a handful of these to buy myself margin with my time to go work on other ideas, other types of projects, expand my relationships, expand my skill set and the types of things I'm willing to do. Oh, hello. I'm Brian Bandison. Welcome to my smoothie shop. All right, so how did I go from doing what I'm doing as a sort of a part-time side hustle to doing it full-time? I'm going to talk you through that, and I think that there are going to be some things that you can pull over to what you're doing. So the first thing after you take a sip of your smoothie, oh, that's so good. The first thing is to identify what is the highest leverage activity. Okay, so I'm doing real estate development, and the biggest thing was I need to get properties into this pipeline and get a builder building them for me, and then have them pop out the other end. I sell them for a profit. That's the basic model. Now, over time, my model in my company has changed, and we'll get into that in a minute. The basic model is, let's just pretend on average, because I am bringing in partners, especially early on, I could not fund a lot of this myself, so I'm bringing in partners, so I'm splitting my profits. So let's pretend that if we're gonna make $50,000 on each house, that I'm gonna make 25. So if I'm gonna make 25 per house, I can look at it a couple different ways. The first question is, what is my income this year? If my income was 100, then I need to get 4 houses going through the pipeline to replace that 100. But 100 doesn't give me any growth money. All that means is I've replaced my income, but I still can't fund any of my own projects. And that's if nothing goes wrong. I can't hire anybody. I can't hire an EA. I can't create more leverage. I can't hire systems. I can't start paying for leads. That's a bare minimum. Is that the long-term goal of my company? Not exactly, no. But it moves me toward it. First, I identify, all right, here's the highest leverage thing. The second question is, what are my highest leverage activities that create that? So an example from my specific instance would be, what is the highest leverage, most effective, most return for my time activity that I can do? And then I allocate whatever amount of time I can, because remember, we're doing this in the margins, right? Your day job, your valet parking cars or whatever, which is one of my favorite day jobs I ever had. Your valet parking cars, well, you can't work on this while you're valet parking cars. So you've got a limited amount of time. If you're working somewhere else 40 hours a week, you have a limited amount of time that you can allocate, especially if you've got a family. For me, I did all of this trying to not be a really crappy dad and a husband, right? And so you identify the thing that takes the least of your time and fills your pipeline full of things that will replace your income. So for me, I made the switch once I knew that I had almost doubled what my income would be. And here's why I waited that long. Number one, things are not going to go perfectly and according to plan. And I was right about that, by the way. I've taken some painful hits. And if I was right on the edge, if it was, we need 100 to survive and I've got 100 lined up, one painful phone call, one piece of bad news away from not having what I needed for my family, then all of a sudden I'm crawling back and hoping, my former business partner will take me back. So for me, I had almost double my income lined up. And so the point for me was, if things go so badly that half of my deals crap out, I'm still okay. Some things did go wrong. It wasn't anywhere near half of them. I made way more. And so I had this trustworthy pipeline, and I did that by focusing on, this is the activity that fills my pipeline with these home run deals. They don't require a ton of my time. They'll bring in a reasonably predictable amount of money. They aren't an example of the end goal. My end goal is not to do that exact model. My end goal is to have a staff that helps me do a lot of the building for myself. And my end goal is to do bigger projects, multi-use projects, townhouse developments, and all kinds of stuff. And I didn't start with that. And the reason is because that requires more margin, okay? That's me stretching myself. That's not home run stuff. A lot better chances things go wrong, or things take longer, permitting takes longer, or I couldn't do what I thought, or building it costs more than I realized it would because it's different and it's new to me. So you've got your activity that leads to these home run deals, and you fill your pipeline up with those, and then you get to a point where you can make the break. The other thing here is the idea of your org chart, okay? And I mentioned a couple times, so I'm still not doing my ideal thing. So I've got an org chart in my mind of what my company looks like, let's say 3 years from now. And I'll give you a little preview of it. Just pretend I have a whiteboard right here. My org chart is me at the top, big head honcho guy. Under me is a head superintendent and a head salesperson, right? Eventually there will be a third person, and they are the head of property management, because I'm going to hold a bunch of stuff. This head superintendent under him has 1, 2, 3 to 5 other superintendents, and that is where our build capacity comes in, where we can build, 150, 200, 250 units, whatever, a year, okay? Under my head salesperson, maybe it's 1 to 3 salespeople who start off where she did, and now she's in charge of a sales team who are supposed to bring in enough deals so that we can keep all of these superintendents busy. And then third is my property manager person, because we have created so much passive income that I don't need to pay myself a salary. So everything we build, we just keep it and we stack up net worth. So that's the org chart. How many of those pieces do I have now? Started with 1. First superintendent, hired him. And hopefully I'm about to have my first salesperson as of the filming of this. I haven't made a hire yet, but that's coming hopefully this week or next. Okay, and then down the line, we start bringing on property management, we bring it in-house. So what you have to realize, and this is where the power of patience, it's so beautiful, guys. I wish I understood this 5 or 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, I wish I got it. I'm still gonna be in this game 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. So I don't have to be panicked and hurried and go, oh my gosh, yeah, well, it'd be great, except that's gonna take 5 years. Now my answer is, okay, that's fine. If it takes 5 years, that'll be cool. 5 years from now, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be cool. I think the younger me felt like those longer timelines, 5, 10, 15 years, like it doesn't even feel like that time's ever gonna get here, right? But now I've seen it because I got a 10-year-old son. I've seen how quickly that happens, right? So that patience, man, that patience is a superpower. That patience is a cheat code, as the young guns are saying. It gives you time to learn the things you need to learn without rushing it. It gives you time to try things and fail. And for me, now I'm like, that's okay. Let's give that a try. If it doesn't work, what? We've lost 2-3 months and we just keep going. I'm building a company. It's a 30-year timeline. What's the freaking hurry? All right, it gives you time to try and fail. It gives you time to save up money so that you can do things right. I'm spending money on marketing now with partners that a younger me, I didn't understand. I didn't understand the long game, and so that investment didn't make sense to me. It gives you time to grow as an individual, to grow as a leader, to grow as a boss, to grow as a business person, an entrepreneur, to grow as a strategist. Now I'm thinking 30-year timeline, and all of a sudden something that takes a year to figure out, that's not that painful. That's 1 year out of 30. Right now, the goal is not to suddenly skip a bunch of steps and have my org chart filled with people. The goal is to replace my income. Let's say as a great metric, 125 to 150% of your income, you get that in a pipeline. So if your income is 50 grand a year, you want to fill your pipeline with the easiest low-hanging fruit, those home run deals, $75,000 worth. And you've got that lined up over the course of the next 12 months. So the timeline is that is going to close in the next 12 months. Now you can make the break. And what's beautiful is the momentum grows, because now you make that break. Now you got 40 hours a week back that you can pour into this, and you can double, triple, quadruple that and grow from there. But that's what the transition looks like, okay? You're filling your pipeline to replace your income. 125 to 150% of that income is lined up for the next year. You've got a cushion for growth money, and you've got a cushion for some things to go unexpected. Then you can make the jump. And then I want your mindset to be about patience and think long-term. This isn't get rich quick. This is, I want to build something meaningful and worthwhile for the next 30 years. Now, that doesn't have to be your commitment. You don't have to be thinking you're going to do this for 30 years. If you got a bakery and you know you don't want to be doing this bakery in 30 years, that's okay. But what's a trap is to get overly panicked and urgent and to try to shortcut things. And you miss the chance to put strategies in place that might take 2 to 3 years to play out, but that are really powerful. So when you have your org chart in mind, just realize these first deals you're doing to make this transition, they don't have to perfectly reflect that goal org chart. They don't have to perfectly reflect what you want your business to turn into 5 years from now. You're trying to buy yourself the margin monetarily to make the leap to working on this company full time. My org chart is slowly starting to look like this, but it's because I've now had about a year full time doing only this, and I bought myself that margin by stacking up those low hanging fruit kind of deals. So that's what that transition looks like. That's what I want to see you do. I really, really hope that this video was helpful. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what kind of business you're building, and tell me what this transition looks like. Have you already made it? Are you about to make it? Were there some pieces of this conversation that have given you clarity on how to make that transition? I'd love to hear about it. Thank you guys for joining me. I will see you next week.